Hey there, and welcome to Cyberpunk Librarian. I'm Daniel Messer. Things haven't gotten better, have they? A while back, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals in New Orleans ruled that Americans have no right to information from their government. Judge Stuart Kyle Duncan wrote in his majority decision that, quote, plaintiffs would transform that precedent into a brave new right to receive information from the government in the form of taxpayer-funded library books. The First Amendment acknowledges no such right. Unquote. He also went on to say that no one is burning books and no one is banning books, and I can only guess that's because His Honor has his head so far up his ass that he hasn't looked at the news. Because if he had taken a look around, he may have noticed that an Ohio man checked out 100 books from his library and set them on fire because he didn't agree with their information about racism, religion, and, as always, the fact that they talk about members of the LGBTQ+ community as if they're people worthy of love and respect. The judge may have heard about how Florida has banned over 700 books in public libraries and schools thus far, and they're feverishly working on more. He might have heard how the Trump administration told the Department of Education to stop investigating book bans because no one is banning books. It's all a hoax. Yes indeed. I'm sure that the judge might even agree that not only is book banning and book burning a hoax, but it's actually unfortunate that Americans have learned about such things happening around them. After all, Americans have no right to information. Occasionally, I flex my history degree. I may as well because I paid good money for it, but let me tell you, throughout history, no one who banned and burned books were ever seen as the good guys. I have been thinking about Cyberpunk a lot more recently. That's saying something because I already thought about Cyberpunk quite a bit. There's an old saying in the community that Cyberpunk was a warning, not an instruction manual. They said the same thing about George Orwell's 1984, and that's just as true. But for us, the clue to resisting this gross assault on our rights and on our freedoms is right there in the name. Cyberpunk. And as prescient as 1984 proved to be, Orwell didn't count on the one thing that William Gibson, Melissa Scott, Neil Stephenson, Pat Cadigan, Bruce Sterling, and so many others did. There are no punks in 1984, but as it turns out, there are plenty of them in 2025. Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. It just takes a few months off in between episodes to move house. This is Cyberpunk Librarian, episode 68. Come with it now. My name is Daniel Messer, your little free Cyberpunk Librarian, and we've got a follow-up, a part 2 even, where we'll be continuing on with the themes from the previous episode of the show. You may notice that the title of this show and the title of the one before both reference punk rock songs and punk rock lyrics. That's not an accident, and I've already alluded to that. The United States is under attack from its own government. Regardless of the antitrust trials going on and the outcomes thereof, corporations are running rampant, violating people's privacy, stealing people's data, and stealing their creations. Lewis Black once joked that his problem has always been with authority. And that's a good start. It's not bad. I'd like to add to that my problem is also with capitalism, especially the American brand, which finds itself swirling around the drain of fascism. The generation and creation of false information, colloquially referred to as bullshit, as a means of pushing an agenda, that isn't anything novel. It's nothing new. After all, there were some guys in Europe doing that in the early 1930s. As things go, discovering and calling attention to bullshit citations and the fabrication of evidence is something that librarians are quite attuned to dealing with. So, here we are. One of the many things that drew me to punk rock in my late adolescence was its anti-capitalism stance, but there's more to it than that. Punk is just as much about doing and helping others. There's a strong current of do it yourself and do it with others that runs through punk rock. It's not just a movement or a genre. It's a community. And punks have been fighting against injustices since the 1970s when the movement began. As Rollins once said, "This is not a time to be dismayed. This is punk rock time. This is what Joe Strummer trained you for. It's now time to go. You're a good person, and that means more now than ever. You can be thunderous in your own life, and being cool to the 8 people around you, it rubs off. Goodness is viral." Unquote. Me, I figure that we are punks. We are cyberpunks. We are librarians. We are archivists. We are hackers. Let's create a virus, and I'm going to tell you how to do it. So far as I can tell, the term guerrilla librarian was born in April 1997 from the mind of Will Manley in his regular column in the magazine American Libraries. For those who don't know, American Libraries is the official magazine of the American Library Association, aka the ALA. He was referring to a group of librarians working at San Francisco Public who were hiding books and stamping them with false due dates to prevent their weeding from the collection. From there, the terminology grew to embrace more political and social aspects. My personal definition of a guerrilla librarian is someone who takes up stewardship of a collection for the purposes of circulating that collection. Now, there's a very important word I've left out, and there's a very important word that I made sure to include. The word I left out was librarian. See, you don't have to be a professional librarian to become a guerrilla librarian. It's something that anyone can do, and you don't have to have an MLIS hanging on your wall. And the word that I made sure to include, circulating. If you have a collection of books or Blu-rays or whatever media, that's great, that's wonderful, but that's your collection. Unless you're circulating it, it's not really a library. One of the core features of any library is they make media available to a wider audience. So circulating is a key part of that. Now, I want to get something out of the way, kind of right up front here. I'm not a big fan of the term guerrilla librarian. I mean, yeah, it's fine. It definitely has an aura to it. It's definitely something that'll get your attention, and I have no problem with anyone using the term. I don't think it's offensive. I just think it's odd. The term was birthed from an article about a group of librarians who felt the need to work outside the normal parameters of their institution in order to save items in media that they considered to be important. But the word guerrilla adds an aspect of war to their actions in a way that, it just doesn't sit well with me. I suppose that I could blame this on being a child of the 80s and 90s. I grew up with the war on drugs, the war on crime, the war on poverty, the war on famine, and so on. America is always ready to declare war on something. Anything will do, I suppose. Funny thing there, we've really not been winning any of those wars on drugs, crime, poverty, or famine. But, because of that, I prefer to use the term underground librarian. I think that fits far more situations, including librarians operating in active theaters of actual war. The fact of the matter is many guerrilla librarians aren't going to war against anything. They may be rallying against something, they may be working to oppose something, but war? I believe one of the greatest crimes of the last century is how desensitized we are to that word. As Hawkeye Pierce once said, war is war and hell is hell, and of the two, war is a lot worse. But it doesn't stop there. In my mind, an underground librarian is someone and something more than the standard definition of a guerrilla librarian. While an underground librarian may be the steward of a collection, they also act as a sort of fixer. You need media, you need information, Looking for a video or a book that your state has banned in your public libraries? An underground librarian can use multiple resources, tools, skill sets, and even call upon other collections to get the media you're after. An underground librarian is an active participant in a long-standing motto in the world of media sharing, which is keep circulating the tapes. There's that word again, circulating. In the last episode, we talked about how to get involved at the social level, how you could show up for your library, and how to fight for its preservation. That's still important. Do that, please. In this episode, we're going to do more. We're going to discuss strategies, tactics, and methods to take the library outside its walls and beyond its rules. It's funny, you know? Earlier I said I preferred underground librarian, but there is an aspect of war to the term guerrilla librarian. And, maybe that's the proper name after all. Because when they started attacking our freedoms, they absolutely started a war. Rebellion is the lifeblood of punk. So, if you're willing to push some boundaries, then let's go. First up, reality and the rules of engagement. I'm about to piss off some people in my profession, and I don't care. Sorry, I've been doing this for 30 years now, and I'm entitled to a controversial opinion or two, so stay tuned. But I want to be certain you know where I'm coming from here. One important thing I want to stress is that you do not need to be a professional or a degreed librarian. Remember what I said earlier about my controversial opinion? Well, here's one. After almost 30 years in public libraries, I have become convinced that the Masters of Library and Information Science degree is one of the most overvalued pieces of paper on this planet. Now, to be clear, that's no shame on the librarians who have it. They worked hard for it, they paid a lot of money for it, and they earned it. I've worked with so many new librarians, though, fresh out of school, who are woefully unprepared for the actual work of being a public librarian. They've got a lot of theory from the degree, and theory is great, but the practical side will bite your ass. Yes, that's very interesting that you learned the intricacies of MARC cataloging and how collection development policies might serve a community. But before we get into that, hey, could you get the Narcan out of the desk for me? We got a person on the floor in the bathroom. You call 911 and I'll go see if I can wake them up. Additionally, as a systems librarian, it's rare that I ever find a librarian outside my specialization who knows anything about an ILS. Look, I don't expect them to be complete nerds about relational databases, reporting systems, analytical presentation platforms, and the problems of security and access. But wouldn't it be lovely, dear hearts, if they learned something about the nature of an ILS in library school, especially since they're going to be using one every day of their professional existence in a library setting? See, I have been personally disparaged and reminded that I am not a librarian because I didn't finish my degree. And then I'll be asked for complicated circulation data covering age ranges and locations within a service area for a specific period of time to determine whether or not there were changes in trend lines for certain material types. Sure, I can get that data for you using SQL, technical, and analytical skills I taught myself and learned from others, and that stuff sure as hell wasn't on the course list when I was working on my degree. I'll put it this way, and I'll move on. Some of the best librarians I have ever worked with didn't have the degree, and all of the worst librarians I've ever worked with did. And many of them were keen to lord that over others as if they somehow knew more about the profession. Okay. Enough of that. I started doing public library work almost 30 years ago. You can start today. You don't need the degree, believe me. In some cases, the fact that you don't have a degree could be a positive thing. See, there are some states here in the land of the free who have decided that if a librarian does something the legislature decided they don't like, then that librarian could be in trouble. Funny thing though, what's a librarian? Take Idaho House Bill 710. It spends a lot of time and language working to define things like what is a minor? What is nudity? What does sexual conduct mean? Oh, and how is that different from sexual excitement? Ooh, this is a good one. What is sadomasochistic abuse? What is harmful to minors? And then it goes on to talk about what could happen to someone working in a school or public library if they do the bad thing of providing books to kids that the legislature just doesn't agree with. But see, if you're not an agent of a school or a public library, then are you a librarian? Funny thing, nowhere in the bill does it define what a librarian is. But I am fascinated by the fact that it seems like a grand majority of these absolutely unconstitutional bills and laws and regulations and flagrant attacks on free speech never define exactly what a librarian is. I think that's important, and I think that's an advantage. An underground librarian isn't acting on behalf of a public library or their school. It just happens to be the case that someone asked them if they knew how to get a copy of Looking for Alaska by John Green, and they did know how to find a copy of that. As we move on, I'm going to warn you right here and now that some of the tactics I'll get into are quasi-legal or straight up illegal. More importantly, we need to get straight on the concept of copyright in America and the current condition thereof. And the current condition of copyright in America is that it's a train wreck caused by a plane crash. If you are someone who still believes in the sanctity of copyright, goddess above, I respect your convictions and I admire your adherence to them. Folks, I'll go into this on an upcoming episode, but AI could not exist without the biggest theft ever perpetrated upon humanity. And I'm talking about nothing less than corporations stealing everything they could to train their AI models and their LLMs. Suddenly, the corporations don't care about copyright anymore, or to put it more accurately, they sure as hell don't care about your copyrights anymore. Sam Altman, Mark Zuckerberg, Satya Nadella, Sundar Pichai, Dario Amodei, and all of the other CEOs of the various AI companies, they're taking everything they can and fuck you if you don't like it. What? You gonna sue Google or OpenAI or Microsoft? What are you gonna do, pleb? Sure, every AI company you've ever heard of is being sued, but it's titans fighting over obscene amounts of money. If you are an artist, a writer, a videographer, or any kind of creative person, you posted your work online, it's been stolen. I know for a fact that they scraped cyberpunklibrarian.com, so yeah, fuck it. Fuck copyright. If you want to play by the rules, I salute you, and I kind of wish I had your convictions. But I don't. Corporate America has stolen everything they could from the people, so fuck it. I'm done. I'm not going to concern myself with protecting the rights of multi-billion-dollar international corporations who stole everything they could so they could make their own shitty art. Cyberpunk Librarian isn't a great work of art. Nothing I do is. But damn it, it's mine. I made it. Welcome to America, where the industry is the enemy. There's your theory and philosophy. Now, let's practice librarianship. Before we even start here, you may be wondering, hey, who does an underground librarian serve? How do they help? And those are good questions. The answers are simple, but the reality can be complex. Public librarians serve the public. Academic librarians work for their schools and their universities. Medical and law librarians help lawyers and doctors. Within all of that, there exists an underlying truth that answers our original questions. Librarians serve their communities. For a public librarian, their local community is, in fact, their community. It's no different from an academic librarian whose community is their university. The law librarian's community are lawyers and judges. Now, look a little deeper and you'll find that while those communities are important, they're just one community. And as a public librarian, I've assisted with so many other communities than the people living in a library service area. And some of those communities can be at odds with each other. I've worked in conservative areas where my community isn't just the residents. It's the LGBTQ plus folks that aren't always treated well by the public at large. It's that teenage kid looking for something different than the religion forced upon them at home, asking if I could help them find books on Wicca. It's that one kid over there who's looking for something about astronomy, and the girl who just discovered a love of horror movies and fiction. Yeah, that's my community. Look around you, and I'm sure you'll find out who yours is. Despite all the issues we're having in the field right now, I can tell you the public libraries are still wonderful and viable and can help with a lot of media and questions. If someone you know needs a thing, well, here's the very least you can do. See if it's at the local library. So yeah, maybe the person you're helping knows that libraries exist, but how long has it been since they went to the library? A library's online catalog isn't Google. The public library's website doesn't work like Bing. Thank God. Try as we might, librarians can't always make it easy to find the thing people want. So, that in mind, check your local library websites and catalogs. Get familiar with what they have there, not just in the collection of books and media, but the other sources as well. If you live in a bigger city, your library may have access to things like JSTOR and massive databases of knowledge and information. That's the stuff that's hard to find when a newbie is checking out the library catalog. They'll search for the thing they're after, and maybe they don't find it, so they give up. After all, it didn't come up in the search, right? So the library doesn't have it. They never thought to go check a digital collection or a database because they didn't even know those were available. They don't even know what they are half the time. Now, for the next few minutes, we're going to get physical like Olivia Newton-John. The libraries around you may not have the book or Blu-ray or CD or whatever it is your community needs. But if you're keeping your eyes and ears open, and if others are asking for your help, you'll know that they have options. And none of those options ever have to involve Amazon. I've been known to gather lists of things that people are looking for and just, go looking in various places. Now, I know what you're thinking. We're going to talk about Anna's Archive and Sci-Hub. And yes, we are, but not yet. As I just told you, don't discount your public library and don't discount your local used book and media stores. Those stores, those businesses, those people, they need your support. And no, I'm not saying you need to go to the local used media shop and buy everything for everyone. No. That doesn't stop you from just going to one of these stores, checking them out. Maybe you're going anyway. You need a few things yourself. And you've got your little list and you see something. Hey, that's something that someone wants. So you send them a message. Hey, that thing you want, it's down here at the local used book place. Just come on down and get it. It's this much money or whatever. A quick text message, and now someone knows where they can find that thing they're after. Whenever possible, I suggest you use an encrypted messaging app like Signal that protects you and your patron. Maybe you can't find it locally, or you don't have time to check out the local bookstores. Well, no problem. Let me introduce you to bookshop.org. Bookshop.org is a website and a catalog that connects you to independent new and used bookstores around the United States. It's like ABE Books, but unlike ABE Books, Bookshop.org isn't owned by Amazon. Sure. They don't have Prime, and delivery may take a few days, but goddess above, who cares? That's the norm, that things ordered online and delivered through the mail or parcel services, they're going to take a few days. Amazon did a very good job of convincing people that this was a problem that only they could solve. It's not. It's not a problem. It's how shit works. Okay, fine. Okay, let's just get into it. It's time to move into the quasi-legal and illegal part of the program now, because we need to talk about piracy. And by piracy, I mean anarchivism. And by anarchivism, I mean welcome to the world of shadow librarianship. If you're interested in protecting the copyrights of multi-billion-dollar corporations so that others may be deprived of information and media, well, you may want to skip ahead. Piracy is archivism. Corporations and governments are under no impetus, neither legal or financial, to archive and maintain anything they create. Anything can be deleted at any time. There are a slew of video games that you can no longer play because they were pulled from the stores, both online and in MeatSpace. Go find a copy of Silent Hill PT, a game that no longer exists because Konami are a shower of bastards. The only way you will find it is through piracy and recorded videos of the experiences. Games disappear all the time because they're server-based, and the company behind those servers decides, fuck it. It's not making enough money anymore. Shut it down. And it's not just games. Books go out of print. And so do a lot of other things. Movies are being pulled off streaming services, and they're no longer making DVDs or Blu-rays like they used to. So I hope you like eBay, and I hope you're lucky. Sure, you might be able to get an interlibrary loan, but trust me, there are things that aren't available in the nearest libraries. But you can find them within various archives. Do you or someone you know need a book right now? Anna's Archive and Zed Library. Get out there and look for them. You'll find them. How about a movie that's not on streaming, isn't readily available in DVD or Blu-ray, and hell, you even tried looking around for a VHS copy? Well, I invite you to look into the wonderful world of VPNs and BitTorrent. Always, always, always use a VPN when you're using BitTorrent. And beloved, you can subscribe to a VPN for a reasonable price. It's worth it because you are going to save yourself and your patrons so much money. Look, I wanted to read a biography about one of my favorite artists. It's a book that, so far as I can see, had a single print run and it's been out of print since the 1980s. I found it through an interlibrary loan, and not only did I read it, I scanned it. I have a book scanner, a Seizure ET Series professional book scanner that can turn a book into a digital file in, half an hour, maybe less. I scanned it, OCR'd it, put it together as a PDF, and then shared it. For some people, the ebook I created, an ebook that did not exist in any legal form, that ebook is their only option if they want to read that book. So I was there to help. At least that's kind of how I see it. Are you looking for sources? Well, let me introduce you to the wonders of FMHY, or free media, heck yeah. Dig in, mes amis. Check out the show notes for links to the piracy subreddit. You don't have to go flipping through the subreddit if you don't want to, but what you should do is explore the mega thread. If you dislike Reddit, hey, I understand that. Check out the show notes for another link to a Lemmy instance that mostly mirrors that subreddit. Fire up that VPN and discover a world of media that's been suppressed by nothing more than base capitalism. Did you happen to run across something that was hard to find? Then copy it. In the world of this administration, there is one correct answer to the question of how many copies do we need, and that answer is at least one more. Copy it. Share it. Circulate the fucking tapes. Even though we left magnetic media behind decades ago, it doesn't matter. Circulate the goddamn tapes. This is shadow librarianship. This is anarchivism. The administration wants nothing more than the suppression of thought and the oppression of people it finds irredeemable. The counterculture, the gays, the anarchs, the lesbians, the punks, the bisexuals, the pagans, the transsexuals. There is so much at risk. Find a niche and preserve it. And then, more importantly than ever before, share it. As far as sharing goes, you've got options. Look, I don't much care how you share more than I care that you do it at all. Let your community know that you can help them find things. Create and seed a torrent. Safely, of course, VPNs are your friend. Never, ever discount the power of a sneaker net. To paraphrase a well-known adage of computer science, never underestimate the bandwidth of someone with a couple of SSDs in their backpack walking over to their friend's apartment. As Randall Munroe once wrote, a 10-kilogram shoebox can hold a lot of internet. Like many nerds, I own a backpack designed to carry laptops. In that backpack, I have Narcan and a 500 gigabyte SSD. because you never know when you might need either of those things. Check out the Pirate Box project. People say it died because browsers stopped supporting connections to servers that aren't running secure HTTP. Well, beloved, I don't know about you, but I can tell you that Firefox will connect to any fucking thing you tell it to. Another exciting sharing system is called Project Bookmark. This is something new. Links in the show notes, of course. But both of these things will allow you to share stuff while you're just, walking around. See, back in the old days, between 1935 and 1943, there were these librarians in Appalachian, Kentucky. They were called pack horse librarians, and they rode around rural Kentucky on horses, bringing books and reading materials to the folks who lived out where library access was limited at best. And you need to remember, these pack horse librarians were women. Almost the entire project was administered, managed, and run by women. You want to talk about hardcore librarians? You talk about women on horseback riding all over Appalachian, Kentucky, delivering books. Thing is, they didn't just bring the books, but they'd read them too. After all, some of their patrons were illiterate. So these ladies would show up, dismount, drop off some books, and then sit for a spell while reading them to the others. They were teachers, as well as librarians, which leads us gracefully into the next part of the show.
Ignorance is bliss.
There's this funny thing about librarians. We'll totally teach you how to do our jobs. Good librarians aren't gatekeepers. Knowledge belongs to everyone, and we will share our knowledge of how to find knowledge. You stick around a librarian long enough, you'll learn all kinds of things about esoteric librarian shit, about like how to catalog materials in a collection, or how to find things within that collection, how to adjust the catalog so these items are easier to find, and so on. It's not that we don't want to help you, and it has nothing to do with pushing you out so you're out there on your own. A librarian will always be there to back you up. But once you learn how to use, say, a magazine database or something like that, why would you want to keep coming back to me to access it? Get in there, find your articles. Oh, wait, you're having trouble finding your articles? No problem. Let me help you. In 30 years of library work, I've taught people how to use the online catalog. I've taught them how to find the items that are added to that catalog. I've taught folks how to use e-readers. I've shown them how to find e-books in the library system. I was a technology instructor for a while, and at the time, my job involved teaching people how to use a computer who had no idea what they were doing. Like literally, we would start the course with this thing right here. This is called a mouse. We use it to point at things on screen. I've done the same with smartphones, literally starting from the level of, no, this isn't an Android phone, this is an iPhone. Yeah, they look kind of similar, but there are several differences you're going to want to know about. And I'm not unique. There are librarians and library staff out there doing that every damn day, probably as you listen to this show. We'll show you how the library works. We will show you how the tech works. We will show you how to use that tech to find the things that you want and need both inside and outside of the library's collections. We'll show you all of that because once you learn how to do that stuff, you are empowered. You will literally have a new skill set that allows you to keep enhancing your skill sets. Librarians are teachers. And if you're looking to do some work in the fields of shadow librarianship and anarchivism and underground librarianship, you should be a teacher too. Look, I'm not saying you have to write up some curriculum and sit down with one or more people and run a class or anything, but you know what? I sure as hell wouldn't stop you if you did. A friend of mine, we'll call him Gru. He reminded me of something a few days ago that I've been thinking about ever since. Technology belongs to those who understand it. Keep in mind that almost everyone you know is walking around with a device in their pocket that they can use to read books, watch movies, listen to music, listen to podcasts, and communicate with others. And if you're someone who's listening to this show, chances are pretty damn good that you know more about that device than they do. You know that life exists in the silence beyond the walled garden. And you might be thinking, the silence beyond the walled garden? Dan, what in the hell are you talking about? So, okay, iOS and Android. They're really great at promoting their own systems. They're approved systems. And by that, I mean they'll tell you all about the apps that benefit them. You want to read something? Oh, well, have you tried Apple Books or Google Play Books? Oh, you want to read the news? Can we interest you in Apple News or Google News? You want to listen to music? Great, here's Apple Music, Google Music, and YouTube Music. Movie night? Check out Apple TV or Google Play Movies. It's all so easy. And look, all the apps are already installed for you. Just tap and go. Now, friends and listeners, we're nerds. We're geeks. We're hackers. We know that there is an entire goddamn world beyond Apple and Google. The problem is that world is kind of shit at promoting itself. If you're an ebook lover, I could ask you, hey, what's your favorite ebook app? And you might tell me about Libby or Hoopla or FB Reader or something like that. You'll probably know something about VLC. You may have an app recommendation for something that plays your own collection of FLACs and MP3s. You know that's out there. But others don't. You'll also know something about the side channels, you might say. For instance, me, I do a lot of reading in Apple Books. And I'm pretty sure, almost positive, that I've never bought a book from the Apple bookstore. Because you see, I know that I can drop my own EPUBs and PDFs into the Apple Books app and just read them there. I read comics, but I don't use Comixology. Now, I've got digital comics that I've purchased from Humble Bundle. Wow, that's hard to say. And I'll read those in Chunky Comics Reader on my iPad. I don't need to buy into Amazon's ecosystem. I've ripped my own DVDs and Blu-rays, and I want to watch them on my devices. No problem. I use VLC. That in mind, I've got two questions for you. One, what is the likelihood that your non-tech friends and community members know anything about those alternative apps? And two, how likely is it that those people know that you don't have to buy anything from anyone to use the default apps already installed on the phones and tablets? Google and Apple sure don't go out of their way to tell you that. And sadly, VLC and Chunky and FB Reader and the others, they don't advertise. And even on the off chance someone does see an article or an ad for one of those apps, chances are they're not going to point out how they're an alternative to something else. As an underground librarian, you need to remember that most people are woefully misinformed about the true capabilities of their devices. But you can help them by showing them how to find and utilize apps in ways that aren't tied to the gatekeepers, whether those gatekeepers are beholden to the operating system like Apple or Google, or to a service like Amazon Kindle. This education not only releases someone from the cycle of services revenue and enshittification, but it will make your job easier when you drop off a flash drive with some ebooks along with an MP4 of a movie that can't be found on streaming. Because after you show them how to use those files on their devices, then they'll already know what to do with the media on that flash drive. Speaking of devices, there is one thing I need to impart upon you. The tariffs, especially those tariffs on electronics. Those aren't accidental. Whether the intention is there or not, those tariffs make it harder for people to get a new computer or upgrade their current computer. For tens of thousands of people, if not more, getting a new computer went from difficult to impossible when the tariffs went into effect, because something they might be able to afford, well, now they can't. Same with mobile devices like phones and tablets. With all of these expenses going up, the corporations haven't stopped trying to keep everyone on the yearly cycle of upgrading. Oop, there's a new device out. Gotta get the new one because yours looks old and busted. Bullshit. So, I implore you, do not simply throw away working hardware. Adapt it and share it. Yeah, that 6-year-old laptop running Windows 10, oh, sorry, chummer, but you can't update that to Windows 11 because Microsoft said no. That 10-year-old MacBook Pro, nah, man, you're not gonna get Mac OS Sequoia on that, let alone Tahoe. I mean, it's just too damn old. The corporations who make those devices will tell you that you should recycle them and buy new ones. No, fuck that. I didn't choose those laptops by accident. I have a 6-year-old Windows 10 laptop that can't upgrade to Windows 11. I own a 2015 MacBook Pro that can't upgrade beyond macOS Monterey. A 4-year-old operating system. But there's this one weird trick that manufacturers don't want you to know about when it comes to that old hardware. And that trick is everything runs Linux. There has never been a better time to learn Linux than right now. And there has never been a better time to teach people about Linux than right now. I'm not going to go on an evangelistic spree, I promise, but I will take a few sentences to say that Linux is a step away from the endless cycle of purchasing upgrades. Windows still costs money, and while macOS doesn't, sooner or later your shiny new device won't get any more upgrades. I know this. I know this as a dude whose daily driver is an M2 Max MacBook Pro with 64 gigs of RAM. The corporate response is always, upgrade, buy a newer device. Or you could install Linux on it. Hell, the funny thing is that installing Linux on an older computer almost always makes it feel like a new computer. That Windows laptop, I'm dual booting it with Ubuntu. I kept the Windows partition for now because that might be handy to have, but I rarely boot into Windows. My 10-year-old MacBook Pro, I set up a bootable Ubuntu installation on one of those small form factor USB 3 flash drives. Plugged it into the side. I mean, when it's plugged in, it barely sticks out. I mean, it's there, you can see it, but it's not going to get snagged on anything. It's not in the way. And when I boot that laptop, I hold down the Option key, and I'm taken to a menu that lets me boot from the flash drive, and in a minute or less, I'm logging into Ubuntu. My, 10-year-old MacBook Pro, still good. Still good. None of this is particularly hard. I bet more than half the people listening right now already know how to do that kind of thing. And by that I mean install Linux on something. But I'll also bet that 100% of the people who don't know how to do that can learn. Links in the show notes, my friends. Someone you know probably needs a computer. And if that's not the case, then someone you know knows someone who needs a computer. Or a smartphone, or a tablet. Yeah, Apple wants you to buy a new iPhone or iPad as often as possible. Me, I've got a second-generation iPad Pro sitting on my desk. It's an 8-year-old device. Also happens to be my Stream Deck. I saw no reason to buy a Stream Deck for $150 or more when I already had this iPad and the iOS app costs so much less. The fact is, this stuff lasts longer than they would like you to believe. Share the tapes, share the tech, share your knowledge. Be kind and help those you can. That, my friends, is punk as fuck. And that wraps up this episode of Cyberpunk Librarian. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for sticking around. I know that I am way behind on a bunch of stuff right now, and I am doing my best to get caught up, beloved. Just stick with me, and I will try and get more episodes out in a more reasonable manner. As a matter of fact, I've got a couple episodes coming up. They're already written, already set to go. I just need to sit down and record them. So I will go ahead and sit down and record those. A couple of them are, these next 2 episodes going to be a little bit of a treat because, well, you'll see. The song you're currently digging on is Failures of Infinity by Nihilor. Earlier in the episode, you heard Coma by Natural Causes, Cares for the Waves by the Mesmerists, Ignorance is Bliss by Mind's Eye, Spines Entwined, and Ritual Revival by the Polish Ambassador. As always, the opening track is Belly Dance at Abisu by Rio Miyashita. If you want to reach out and contact me, well, I absolutely don't mind if you do that. You can find me on the socials. I am at Cyberpunk Librarian at masto.hackers.town. You can find me there. You can also just reach out through the standard snail mail thing of, Cyberpunk Librarian at protonmail.com. I'm on Blue Sky if you want to look me up there, but I'm going to tell you right now that I am hung up on Mastodon. I absolutely prefer Mastodon to pretty much anything else, but I do occasionally post on Blue Sky. You'll find me there as Cyberpunk Librarian as well. I mean, just do a search. It'll be pretty easy to find me. I also appear on the Low Life podcast. Check out the links in the show notes for the Low Life podcast and Neon Dystopia. If you kind of dig this, you might go check that one out too, because we talk about all things cyberpunk that, they don't always have to relate to a library. So you get a little more variety over there. And the Low Life lads are absolutely fantastic crew, and I am so happy and honored that I am on that podcast. So come check us out. I think if you enjoyed this, you're going to enjoy that. It's not more of the same. It's a whole lot different and a whole lot better. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Like I said, new episodes coming. I've got a whole bunch of stuff in the pipeline because I think I'm finally in a place where I can be caught up for the first time in a long time. So watch the skies, watch the cyberpunklibrarian.com feed. Of course, check the show notes, cyberpunklibrarian.com/podcast. You'll find all the podcasts there in the show notes with this one as well. So once again, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for sticking with the show. I will see you on the next one. And remember, you don't have to live high tech to be low budget, but if you do, it certainly helps if you're a cyberpunk. Take care now.